Now then, let's talk a little bit about Gaza. Donald Trump has been touring the UAE, and he has sort of emerged with a sort of new, slightly softer line on the situation in Gaza. He's having been sort of broadly fairly quiet on the suffering of the Palestinians, who of course have now had no aid for 70 days. He's now saying, people are starving. It's a really bad situation. Now, some of us may say that this newfound awareness may be as a result of hanging around in Arab countries where the Israeli situation is perhaps viewed even more sternly than it might be elsewhere on the planet. I'm joined by Tom Gross, international affairs commentator, human rights campaigner and Middle East expert. Morning, Tom.
Good morning, Matthew.
When it's Donald Trump, I don't even really know where you start with this. The United States in arming Israel, it said virtually nothing about the blockade. It's highly critical of the ICC and the ICJ. And now suddenly Trump is aware the situation is terrible. What do we glean from that?
Well, Trump says contradictory things about this issue as he does about a whole range of other issues. And he has in the past also said critical remarks about the Israeli campaign against Hamas in Gaza. So it's not the first time he said something like this. But I wouldn't read a change of policy into this because, there's also a report out now from NBC News that he has a plan to move 1 million Palestinians from Gaza to Libya. So, I wouldn't read too much into this as being critical of Israel and also there's something else I want to say. There is clearly enormous hardship in Gaza and food insecurity. But as I understand, there's a very clear legal definition of what is a famine or what is starvation, and that's not actually the case. And I, for one, am quite careful with terminology. I mean, also, for example, with terms like genocide and so on, which have been used really from the beginning of the conflict. They're very clear legal definitions. And in fact, I've checked, there have only been 4 official famines in recent years, 3 of them in Sudan and 1 of them in Somalia. So there's a lot of kind of fog of war, but clearly something needs to be done to alleviate the, humanitarian situation for the population of Gaza.
Do you foresee the United States? I've heard all your caveats, but
yeah.
Do you foresee the United States applying any pressure in that direction?
Yes, well, they've come up with an idea, which is essentially that they will hire private firms, which will be supervised by Americans, and probably the staff will probably be locals or maybe Egyptians or something. Israel will keep security around Gaza, but the aid will no longer be distributed through UNRWA, the UN agency, because the accusation goes by Israel, but also by neutral parties, that UNRWA is largely has been co-opted by Hamas, and therefore Hamas uses food distribution as a way of suppressing internal dissent. And in fact, yesterday there were again anti-Hamas demonstrations inside Gaza by Palestinians, but you have to be very brave to do that, because lost in the story a little bit is that Hamas are not a bunch of, they attack Israel, but they also have an iron grip over the population of Gaza, many or most of whom certainly do not support Hamas.
Tom Gross, pleasure talking to you. You listen to Matthew Wright on LBC.